Hey there, my name is Brashler, and in this video, I want to talk about how many channels does the Waves eMotion LV1 Classic actually have. Now, if you're brand new to my channel, I'm all about helping you feel more confident with your production gear, no matter where you're starting from. Also, if you are on a path wanting to learn more about audio engineering and recording, and are looking for some tips and tricks, I have a weekly newsletter that I send out for free over at audiotoolkit.co, where I send out some of my favorite tips and tricks that I have learned throughout the years with production and audio and everything like that. So head over there and check that out and sign up for free. But let's go ahead and actually dive in and talk about the Waves eMotion LV1 Classic mixer and actually how many channels does it have. To answer that, it's pretty simple. All we have to do is go into our setup and then mixer settings, and then we have our mixer configuration right here. Now we have the ability of setting this up with 16 channels. We can do 32 channels, or we can do 64 channels. Now, what I want to mention about these channels is these are mono or stereo channels. So if you're coming over from, say, an X32, where you have to pair a channel 1 and a channel 2 to create a stereo channel, the LV1 Classic bridges those two left and right and processes it as one single channel. So let's go ahead and check this out. So I'm going to go to 64 channels here, and I am going into my patch once this configures here. Now we can see all of my inputs here. So these are all of my channels, 1 through 64. Now, if I was wanting to create a stereo channel, all I have to do is double click into the M on channel 1, and now we can see that there is a left and a right on channel 1. For channel 2, if I just double click on the M, it'll change it to a stereo channel. So say I have channel 1 and this is stereo on 1 and 2, and then we have stereo on 3 and 4, and then we have the rest of our inputs going down like that. There we go. Let's get rid of these two. We can see that I have stereo on 1 and 2, stereo there, and then the rest of these are sitting as mono. Now what's great is I can add and continue adding more and more channels as stereo as I want to. So for instance, let's go ahead and add in another input device. And so if I go to my network devices, I have my Ionic 24 for adding in more connectivity and adding in more channels available to me. So I'm going to now go back to patch and I can add in my Ionic 24. And down here on channel 15, I'm going to add this as a stereo channel, and 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. All of these are going to be stereo channels. So if I drop out of my channel here, so we can see my Ionic 24 on the top of this, and we can see all of my 24 inputs available to me on this. Now, here's my channel 15 on left, so I can simply go and drop this down and add all of the rest of the channels that I want to. Let's see how that did. Perfect. So let's undo that and undo that. So now we have all the way up to 32 connected. And if I drop in both of these, we can see that I have a bunch of channels here. Now, if I wanted to configure every single channel as stereo and have a mixer that's 64 channels, that is 128 input sources that I can actually process. So all of you people that are running backing tracks and maybe are using 8 tracks, and a couple of those are pairs of stereo. So you have 1 and 2 as a pair, 3 and 4 as a pair, 5 and 6 as a pair, and then 7 is maybe your cue, and then 8 is your click. Well, those first 3 pairs are just 3 channels because it's a stereo, and a stereo. Whereas on an older mixer, if you did have to link those, that would be taking up 8 inputs, as 1 is left, 2 is right, then 3 would be left, 4 would be right. But in our case with the LV1, because we can make a stereo channel, we don't have to use up all of those channels. So if you are looking for a mixer that can do 64 channels and both process mono or stereo on those channels, then look no further than the Waves LV1 Classic, because it can do all of your channels processing that you need to, up to 128 input sources. Now, if we jump back over into our setup and look at our mixer settings, we will also notice that the 64 input channel section has 8 stereo groups, 8 mono stereo effects auxes, 16 mono or stereo monitor mix buses. We then have our main buses of left, right, center mono, and then we also have 8 mono or stereo matrices. So not only can we process mono and stereo on the inputs, but we can also process mono or stereo on the outputs. Now, I hope this video was helpful for you today. If you do happen to have any questions on the LV1 or any other production equipment that's out there, please drop that in the comment section down below, as I'm always reading through those comments to find videos that are going to be helpful for you. If you haven't already, make sure to check out my website at drewbrashler.com. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day.